In this video, I'm going to share with you what to do when you have too many ideas and the 5 things that I personally do to help me make a decision. So the first step I take is I write a list of all the ideas that I have, and then once I have that list, I then move on to the next step. Step 2 is asking myself, out of all the ideas that I've written down, which thing or which idea excites me the most? So what do I feel I have a genuine interest, a passion for? Now you've got to think deeply about this, because if you just decide on an idea purely for the result or the outcome that it's going to give you, it will most likely be short-lived. You'll end up getting bored or just simply giving up. So once I'm clear on the ideas that excite me the most, I then move on to the next step. Step 3 is asking myself, what are the pros and the cons of each of the ideas that I've written down? So out of all of the ideas that I've written down, which ones seem to align the most with my goals? What has the biggest potential to improve my life? Now, this question in its very nature is subjective to what you find as a pro or a con. But the purpose behind it is to basically ask yourself, what's going to move me? What idea is going to move me closer to my goal? For example, I'm passionate about personal development and I enjoy sharing the things that I've learned and continuously learn. So me starting this YouTube channel was the perfect medium for me to be able to do that. But before I started this YouTube channel, my list of ideas was so overwhelming that I essentially became paralyzed because I was finding it so hard and so tricky to make a decision. But when I simply followed these steps that I'm sharing with you, it became a lot easier for me because the pros started to easily outweigh the cons. So once I'm clear on the pros and cons of each idea, I then move on to the next step. Step 4 is asking myself, what ideas on this list can I actually see myself doing? So for this step, what I do is I take a look at all the ideas I've written down on my list, and then I visualize myself in each situation. Literally, all I'm doing here is I'm trying to imagine and feel what it would be like if I put myself in the shoes of pursuing this idea. And hopefully that helps me make a decision. Once I'm clear on which idea feels the best to me, I then move on to the next step. Step 5 is deciding on an idea and taking some form of action. By completing the first 4 steps, I'm now able to make a decision and start taking action. Irrespective of how big or small the first step is, I take action there and then in that very moment. The reason why I do this is because it gets me to commit to the idea. And from my experience, the sooner I act on something, the less chances I have of procrastination. So in summary, the first thing I do is I make a list of all the ideas I have. Step 2 is asking myself, what idea on this list excites me the most? Because if it doesn't excite me, you shouldn't be pursuing it. And I definitely don't pursue things that don't excite me. That's why I make sure that I take my time with this step and I actually ask myself, what do I feel like excites me the most on this list? Because you're going to have to stick to something for a period of time to be able to get some results from it. And if you don't do that, you're just going to end up burning out. So make sure you take your time with this step. The third step is I ask myself, what are the pros and what are the cons of each of the ideas I've written down? There's going to be different pros and there's going to be different cons depending on what you find as a pro and a con. But make sure that you do write down the pros next to each one of your ideas and the cons next to each one of your ideas. That way you can look at it. And what I sometimes do is actually, when I write things down, I hold the pad or I stand over the pad and I look at it from a bird's eye view. So I kind of have a broad perspective of it. Or I just simply write it on a whiteboard and I stand back and I look at it. The next step I take, which is the 4th step, is I ask myself, what can I actually see myself doing on this list of ideas that I've written down? Because if I can't actually see myself doing it, then again, it's just going to be short-lived, which is why I find the exercise of visualizing it really helpful. And the 5th step being deciding on an idea. After following all these 4 steps, it should be a lot easier. So the 5th step is literally deciding on an idea and then taking some form of action. It's much more easier for me to be able to get into the flow if I just take some form of action there and then. For me personally, it creates an environment for me where I have less chance of procrastinating. If you feel like you're a person where you have a lot of ideas and you just lack that part of you where you just need to initiate something or act on it, just write it down. I commit to doing this today, and let's take some form of action towards it. So there you have it. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if there's a particular step in this video that you got the most benefit from, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below.